Like they're taking stuff out of shit and they're going to be selling it. God knows. I'm not sure I want to. Welcome to Rising Anxieties. I just wanted to start off by thanking everybody who's listening or watching for being here, because I mentioned this. Well, I was actually asked about the podcast the other day by somebody who's vegan, totally vegan, like not a crazy person or anything, and just who said, no, I couldn't listen to that because it's all too upsetting. And I just want to say I really appreciate those of you who do listen, because it is upsetting. And you know what upsets me too? Obviously, and it probably upsets you, that, when we try to keep it light and we try to make fun of them, but I don't always manage to pull that off. So thanks for being there. Anyway, I just wanted to say that before we started. And also the thing I'm supposed to say before we start, don't forget we're a podcast and we're on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit like wherever you listen. And now let's get into it. What do I have for you here? Oh yeah, this one's bad. So annoying. This is from Ag Daily, and it's by Michelle Miller, the Farm Babe. I'm not going to make fun of that title because I do it every time. All right. And she's talking about animal care isn't always what people think. Isn't always what people think. This is from Ag Daily. And this is how she starts off. Many people's first thoughts when they think of animal care are often the care of pets, kept in warm houses with cozy beds and getting treats for no particular reason. Yeah, I think she's right. When their next thought is that of livestock, which, not who, which live outside, no matter what the temperature, and often eat only one food, the feeling isn't always warm and fuzzy. No, Michelle, it's not. I would not describe the feeling I get when I think of livestock, which are outside, as warm and fuzzy. But, she says, there are very good reasons for why livestock animals are cared for in the way they are. Good care for animals looks very different for livestock and pets. Yes, it does, which could lead to some misunderstandings. Yes, it does. I think most of the misunderstanding is on your part, but whatever. First off, livestock animals aren't pets. Well, I mean, have we kind of like collapsed the whole issue there? They should be treated like pets because they aren't pets. And they can't be treated like they are. This isn't because farmers and ranchers don't care about their animals, but because they have different roles and needs as the pets that often live in our homes. Well, I would agree they have different roles. Their roles is to be abused and then eaten, and the role of pets is to be loved and cared for. But their needs are pretty much the same. Like, so that doesn't really answer the question. She talks about how the real concern in handling livestock is the good of the herd. Well, the individuals are kind of members of the herd, so the good of the herd does involve the care of the individuals, I would think. I don't know. They aren't wired in the same way as dogs or cats. Yes, they are. They're actually wired pretty much the same. They are prey animals. That's probably true. This means they have a lot more fear, so they don't like to be handled excessively. I don't know about that. Livestock animals thrive with calm, consistent handling, not individual attention. I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. In fact, many livestock animals dislike being around people. Well, what do you know? Why would that be? I just can't even imagine. Some care practices might look harsh. Yes, indeed, Michelle, they do, such as hoof trimming, dehorning, sheep shearing, and castrating. Oh, God. Oh, castrating. That's no big deal. All of these are done to help animals in the future, which is, an odd thing to say since their future mostly involves like getting their throat slit, but whatever. Um, horns, it's true that if they have their horns, they can gouge each other because they're too close together. I suppose that's true. It's also a concern for humans. Yeah, how did humans come into this? I thought we were talking about the animals. Shearing sheep prevents them from getting matted wool, which they get because they're bred to produce way, way, way more wool than they're supposed to. Castrating keeps intact male animals from growing up. which can be another big safety concern. Growing up really is a safety concern. Like for humans, it's a huge safety concern. For example, bulls can injure or kill people. Oh, again, like are we worrying about the animals here or the people? All these procedures are done for specific reasons. I bet they are. And are guided by welfare standards. And who wrote those welfare standards, Michelle? And sometimes veterinary recommendations. Yeah, who's paying those veterinarians, Michelle? She also talks about biosecurity, always, important when you're keeping gazillions of animals in a small space. Livestock animals don't bond with people like pets do. Yeah, well, that's the truth. Again, I wonder why. It's a misconception that farmers don't care about their animals. They absolutely do. It just shows up in different ways than it does for pets. Yeah, it's kind of like abusive partners. They care for their partners. It's just, in a different way than caring partners do. But they care. Some of the myths surrounding animal ag and the disconnect between farms and the public are due to the idea that livestock animals are like pets. I would say that it is true that there is an idea that livestock animals are like pets because livestock animals are like pets, and maybe we should start recognizing that. The type of care that works for a pet would not work for farm animals for good reason. The distinction is what allows farmers to care for their animals as good as they possibly can. It's a rather odd use of grammar. Yeah, whatever. I'll shut up now. Like, what's the point? You could just read that article and it would have the exact same impact as me blethering on about it. All right. I have a couple of articles. They're both from Hort's Dairyman about the dairy is super excited about the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act. And they're all in, and basically it means, well, I'll go through what it means, but there's this first article, Moving the Needle, Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act, what it means for schools and dairy farmers. Obviously, it means for dairy farmers, like the possibility of selling more milk. It's an exciting time for dairy farmers with the official signing of the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act. And they talk about, there have apparently been 80 studies that highlight the role of whole milk and whole dairy products. Okay. I'm sure there are, and I'm sure they're bought and paid for. Whole milk, wow. Did you know that there is a limit on saturated, fat that can be in, a school lunch? They do have but one of the provisions of the Whole Milk and whatever it is act is that you don't have to count the saturated fat in milk to meet that threshold. So you can probably put like serve butter sandwiches. Well, maybe you do have to count the saturated fat in butter. I don't know, but not in whole milk. So it just doesn't count apparently. Like how could it possibly hurt you? Um and they they're hard at work at this. They think this is going to be good for them. I am really not sure why. They think because the other thing about this law, which is really good, is that while you don't have to count the saturated fat in whole milk towards the amount of saturated fat that can be in the child's lunch, you do have to count the calories. So that's and the schools are still allowed to sell skim milk and 1%. They're just what now they're allowed to do is to also sell 2% in whole milk. And I think that there are other calories that they're used to working with, they're used to putting in there, they might prefer than wasting all these calories on giving these kids whole milk. So I feel like maybe kids aren't used to it, though I think people do buy it for their homes pretty a lot, at least half. This article suggests all these things that the industry is doing, promotionals in school cafeterias, promoting flavors. Apparently, over 60% of the milk drunk in schools is flavored. Yeah, kids just love milk. Um, so hot chocolate, smoothies, lattes. Well, that sounds healthy. I never was able to get a latte when I was in school. They hadn't invented lattes. Well, I guess the Italians had, but we hadn't found out about them when I was in school. Working with appropriate state level authorities. Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are, especially states like the one I live in. It's a big dairy state. Um, and they want farmers to go out and also do promotions and talk about how great it is that kids have this choice. All right, this other article, Whole Milk Anticipated Impact, just also points out that most of the milk in schools is flavored, as I mentioned, 68%, um, and skim. And this article thinks that consumption in schools is probably going to stay pretty tilted towards skim and 1%, so I hope that's right. But the dairy industry hopes that by offering higher fat, better tasting milk, it all tastes bad, will lead to more lifelong dairy consumption. They want people addicted to that creamy flavor. But what these articles don't mention is the fact that they have made it a lot easier for kids to get non-dairy milks or non-dairy beverages, as they like to call them. And you know, this I think this could have more impact than their stupid milk thing. And all right, so this is the thing. I wasn't really sure how it works, so I actually did look it up. I'm looking at the FDA site. If a school choose, and this is a huge opportunity for activism, especially if you have a kid in school. If the school food authority chooses to offer non-dairy beverages, they have to meet certain standards, which is fine. They have to have certain nutrients, which is fine. I'm sure everybody will be catering to those standards. Offering non-dairy beverages to all students to meet the fluid milk requirement at lunch is an option, not a requirement. So they don't have to offer non-dairy milk, but if they want to, they can offer it to everybody. They don't have to you used to have to get a doctor's note, and then they changed that a bit, but now if the school chooses to, it doesn't have to, but if it chooses to, so that's a huge opportunity for activism. They can offer it to everybody. They can just put it out with the other milk. And even if they don't, if a parent requests, it has to be in writing, requesting a nutritionally equivalent fluid milk substitute, they have to offer it to that student. So that's pretty good. I don't know why they're not more upset about this. I'm not the most cheerful person in the world, as you may have noticed, but I really think there's huge opportunities here. I mean, milk is the one thing that people really do accept the idea of plant-based substitutes. All right, another article from Hort's Dairyman. They were very prolific this week. Who cares? And they're talking about who cares about animal welfare. There's not a lot in here, but they did this survey of people who consume dairy products. They're actually worried about it. Obviously, the survey had nothing like real in it, but what they were trying to find out was whether people minded that 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 companies might be treating their animals better, but they were just talking about cow handling. It was probably they don't say what it was about specifically, but it's probably pretty limited. If people mind whether they improve their cow handling just for their public relations or whether they they also care about the animals. And on average, consumers indicated that they strongly believe that the company launched this program because they cared about improving cows' lives, which coordinates with what people generally think. People generally think that these farming interests, particularly dairy, probably, I would say, are benign and care about their animals. So that's not really that surprising. It is surprising a little that the industry is trying to figure out whether if people think that they have any self-interest, that interferes with that. And no, it doesn't, which doesn't surprise me at all. And the thing that's really important to remember is that they're worried. This article points out dairy farming is an exception to the concept that most jobs are not very interesting conversation to the people who don't do them. Everyone eats, and many people love animals. This is one of those articles that I really think that they believe it. I really do. People are fucked up. This means that what happens on farms is something that lots of people care about, even if they have never been on a farm. They think that's true. I mean, I know sometimes we don't think it's true because it doesn't seem true. Not everyone cares about all the fine details of animal care, and that is certainly true. People don't want to know the details. They just want like some kind of assurance that it's okay, and that's exactly what they're trying to provide here. So the details include the way the cattle are housed, managed, and handled. But many consumers, this is the key, want assurance that farmers care about their animals and prioritize doing what's in their best interest. So that's the illusion that they not only probably believe themselves, but Do they? I don't know. I can't figure it out. And there's this program, the Farmers Assuring Responsible Management Animal Care Program, and they set minimal expectations for animal care practices. And that's what they're trying to promote here, the use of that. And I bet they're very minimal. What do you think? A dairy article, but not from the same publication. This is from Dairy Herd. The beef on dairy revolution: how black calves and AI are reshaping the dairy profit and loss. This is really bad. There's no way to make this any better, because I mean, I've talked about it before. This beef on dairy revolution. They're trying to turn um, beef the beef industry into factory farming, which, they now have factory farming in the feedlots, but the first 2 years of the calves' lives are spent out on the range by and large, or at least with some level of freedom. And that's just, not sustainable and expensive, and that's got to go. So the dairy industry is going to take over. And the dairy industry, article starts out, is currently undergoing a structural transformation. What was once a singular focus on milk production has evolved into a multifaceted agribusiness model. As Kansas dairy producer Greg Bethard puts it, we might be more ranchers than we are dairymen now, because the uterus has more value than the mammary gland. Don't you just want to kill him? I mean, ew. All right. The revenue generated from crossbreeding dairy cows with high quality beef genetics has upended the traditional profit and loss for dairy. We have cows spitting out $1,400 calves now. It has changed the math for the entire operation. This is the kind of article that makes you think, well, they actually don't care about the animals at all. Of course, the other is just delusion. I don't know why I still get sucked into it. So yeah, this is bad news. This is bad news because it works. They can turn, and they don't have to raise veal, which, we actually succeeded in characterizing veal harshly enough so that it's much less popular than it used to be. But now they just raise them until they're older, and then they kill them. Sustainability also, another aspect, has become a revenue center rather than a cost because of methane digesters. Toll's digester projects now produce enough gas to heat 6,000 houses per year. In Idaho, this other guy is focusing on innovative manure management, working with scientists to extract micronutrients from manure to create new value-added products. I wonder what that's going to be. Like, they're taking stuff out of shit and they're going to be selling it. God knows. I'm not sure I want to. That'll be another thing that we get to keep track of as vegans, like what products are made out of cow shit. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to something happier. Enterococcus faecorum found everywhere in poultry houses. This is my update on disease. Weekly update on disease. It's from Modern Poultry. And this is about a pathogen, Enterococcus faecorum. Probably pronouncing that wrong. It's a growing problem on broiler farms. An infection extends beyond bird-to-bird contact to the farm environment. This is not something that people catch. It's a problem for the birds and for the people who want to make money off of their bodies. And so the birds get things like osteomyelitis, arthritis, polycerositis. But the point that this article is trying to make is that once it's there, it's there. It just spreads across the same premises and becomes a recurring source of disease. So that's just a cheery little update on disease. And we have another update on a disease that we're much more used to, and that's bird flu. And I bet you haven't heard a lot about it, unless you're reading Sentient Media, which I am, in this article by Seth Milstein. Bird flu cases are surging in 2026. What does it mean? Millions of birds have been exposed to the avian flu virus since the beginning of January alone. Yeah, it is out there. It is huge. Nobody's talking about it anymore. It's been in 28 U.S. states just since the beginning of the year, affecting about half as many birds as it did in 3 months during the fall of last year. So that's like in a month and a half. The governor of Colorado has declared a disaster in the state. And it's basically, according to this guy, Maurice Pitesky, an associate professor and expert in poultry disease, it's endemic, which means that you don't get rid of it. You just learn to live with it. A disease is considered endemic when it persists indefinitely at a baseline level, even when no new infections are brought in from other places. Though, of course, it does really expand during migratory seasons. And when bird flu is detected, the entire flock is slaughtered. They say slaughter here. They're not really slaughtered. They're suffocated. It's my understanding. And they will, according to this article, they will all die. I mean, so they might as well kill them. But don't worry about them too much because, of course, they receive indemnity payments from your tax dollars to compensate them for their losses, and so they're okay, and but it's all fine. One of the Biden era the administration has some policies in place. It's a 5-point plan. And one of the Biden era programs that it's extending is called Wildlife Biosecurity Assessments. And this involves sending USDA staff, paid for by your tax dollars, to egg-laying facilities to identify any wildlife living on the premises and suggest strategies to remove them. Like, can't these places find wildlife living on their premises themselves? They need the government to come and find the I don't know, the mice, the rats, the raccoons, whatever it is, and tell them how to get rid of them? Like, really? Like, this is a business. You're supposed to know how to run it. These assessments are provided free of charge to producers, so, don't worry too much. It's all fine. They'll be fine. All right. Oh, just to finish up, I have a little article from Plant-Based News on our favorite person, RFK Jr. RFK Jr. reveals carnivore diet, saying he only eats, quote, meat and ferments. I've never heard this term ferment. Like, I've obviously, he means fermented foods. Like, have you ever heard them called ferments? He was talking about bringing yogurt to a Super Bowl party. It's a fun guy. RFK Jr. revealed that he follows a carnivore diet exactly 1 month after publishing the new meat-heavy U.S. dietary guidelines. Gee, I wonder if that could have influenced it in any way. And he also said that people can eat what they want. Oh, thank you, RFK Jr. People can even eat buffalo wings. But you should check the ingredients. If there's a lot of seed oils, if there is corn syrup in it, if there's artificial flavors, you probably shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be eating birds' wings for about a million reasons. He picks out the things that are basically, not that I'm saying that corn syrup is good for you, but that are made out of plants. And those are the things you shouldn't have. It's insane. It's just insane. Like, how to keep things keep getting worse. Do you think that he's such a freak that at some point people are going to notice he's such a freak, and this is actually, can we take a long-term view of this and think that ultimately when people start absorbing how crazy he is, that this will actually have a boomerang effect and everybody will want to eat spinach? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. All right, that's all I got. Thanks again for tuning in and for sticking with me. Even though I know I'm depressing, but I try not to be. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, either on your favorite podcatcher or on YouTube. And don't forget to tune in to The Head Report and the Our Hen House interview. I'll see you next time.